One of the fastest tools for doing anything really in Excel is the fill handle. Now the fill handle is the little crosshair you get when you take your cursor down to the bottom right hand corner of a cell. Now this fill handle can be used for creating data patterns. Now really it only works when you give it a pairing. If I enter two values in a cell, say for example 2 and 4, highlight those two cells and then take the fill handle and drag, you will see it then repeats the pattern. So the pattern was to add on 2, it continues to add on 2. Now the pattern can be anything. I could go 4 and 9 and then replicate. And you see it then looks at the gap of 5 and adds on 5. Now the fill handle in its replication pattern works vertically, as we've seen there. It works horizontally for about 3 and 9. Take the fill handle and drag. You can see as you're dragging, it's working out the next value. If you happen to go too far, you can drop it a little bit before that. It also works backwards. So if I start here, for example, and start with 99 and 95, highlight both of those, go for the fill handle. Now, even though my plan is to go upwards, I still have to grab the fill handle from the bottom right-hand corner, drag upwards, and you can see it then goes down by the same gap. Now you can work in text with numbers. I could, for example, put area 1. If I'm working text with numbers, I don't actually need to give it a pattern if my increment is always 1. So if I want this to go area 2, area 3, area 4, I don't have to tell it that the second one is area 2. I simply take the one cell's fill handle and drag, and you can see because of the text value next to it increments by 1. If you just took a single number and tried to replicate, it simply copies. Undo that. If I take that fill handle again and hold down the control key, you'll find that it then does the same thing, an increment of 1. So when your pattern increment is 1, you don't actually need to supply two values. You simply take a single cell, grab the fill handle and drag. If you want to do this replication of 1, then you need the control key involved. If it has text in the cell, then you actually don't need the control key. Let's say face 77. I could take its fill handle down, it will increment by 1 that way. I could take 80 to the right and it increments by 1 that way. I could take 84 to the left and it increments by -1 that way. And the same if I go upwards, 77 backwards will go down. Now what would happen if I took this cell, replicated by dragging fill handle to the left, but it goes across the top of two cells that already have some content. Let go. It will do the pattern, whatever it sees the pattern as. It will replace the contents of the cells you've just dragged over the top, but it will give you no warning at all. So there's no, hang on a minute, you're about to replace the contents of two cells there. It just happily goes ahead and does it. That really is the only drawback to this fill handle. The fact that you don't get that, are you sure you want to replace this, or you are replacing this? We cannot do that. It just goes ahead and does it. So you can replicate multiple cells, but really only 2. If you try to do it with 3, it does attempt a pattern, but you can't really follow the pattern. It's best with pairs. There's nothing to stop you taking a series of pairs in one go. If I scroll down here, for example, let's say 34, 56, 12 and 13, 46 and 76. Highlight all 6 of these, then take the fill handle downwards. It does all 3 columns, but you'll see it treats them as separate pairings. This pair here, its increment gap is then added. Each of these. This one was an increment of 1, so they all go up by 1. This one was 30, so they all go up by 30. So you can take multiple pairs and use the fill handle to replicate downwards. So it's a fast way of creating data or of creating a pattern, and you'll find it extremely useful. If you've not used it previously, you'll know that by default, it will also work with months of the year, abbreviated months of the year, days of the week, abbreviated days of the week. And in fact, let's change these to different months and days so that you can see it starts from where you drag from. So January to December, then starts again. June to Dec to Jan, all the way around to May, and then starts again. Tuesday through to Monday, starts again. Wednesday, all the way through to Tuesday, and then starts again. So they're already built in, the patterns with months of the year, days of the week. Just as we've done with numbers, we can do with dates. If I were to put in 8/2/1966 as an example, I could then take the fill handle. No need for a pattern here if I'm incrementing by 1 each time. Drag down and we find we get the next date along. Let's just widen. So it goes from August the 2nd to the 3rd to the 4th to the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, 13, 14, 15, 16. And it would quite happily know if you were to go through a leap year, whether that leap year had 28 or 29 days in February. If I just undo this, take the fill handle again, but actually click with the right mouse button and then drag down. When I let go, I get a menu, which gives me an option of filling the days, which is what the left drag did, but you have an extra option here of fill weekdays, which will then miss out Saturday and Sunday. Need to widen again, and we go 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th must have been a weekend, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 must have been the weekend, 15, 16, 17, 18. If you've not ever used the fill handle previously, it's certainly worth experimenting. The ability here to create patterns of data, even straightforward lists of series of things going up by 1, mixed in with text, or even patterns with dates, months, abbreviated dates, and days of the week.